To keep yourself updated, subscribe to Indigolearn and click the bell icon and download our app OneFin to start learning on the go.
Very good evening and a warm welcome to all of you guys on discussion of this fantastic topic known as how to score 90 plus in our GST. I think this is a very apt title what has been put in for a very simple and fact reason that, my dear friends, that it's quite so common that students, if we get 50 marks, we are more than happy. That's a general mindset what a student keeps carrying. But let me tell you, for a subject like this GST, it is very much possible to score good number of marks. And I've got a simple practical reason for that. The reason for that is quite simple, my dear friends. This is just for about 40 marks, and scoring a minimum of about 30-35 marks is very much possible in this beautiful subject called GST, because subject-wise content is not so big. Unlike your CA final, when you come to final, you have got a lot of depth of topics. Some topics might remain same, but the depth with which it is there final is altogether different. There you need to take a different effort altogether so as to understand the concept. So it is very important that at inter level, since the size of the content is also not so big, it is actually very scoring for you to get the marks. And at the same time, this inter content, what you are going to learn, will be equally useful for you at the final level also. And all said and done, just few weeks to go for your examination. And I'm pretty sure that you guys' preparation is going on really well. Now it's time for me to discuss with you on some interesting aspects, which I want to spend time with you guys in terms of making you understand what kind of questions can keep coming in the exam and how the points keep triggering the exam. And what is that focus areas which we need to understand and concentrate upon so that we aim for that 90+% in our GST. And it's very important that you guys score some good marks in GST, because ultimately 100 marks paper we have got for income tax GST put together. And sometimes there is a possibility that in examination standpoint, they might twist out, turn around some questions in income tax, but in GST, they don't have that much of flexibility to do it, because content wise, it is very less. Now, moving forward to the discussion, my dear friends. Now, let me connect to the screen and share the screen first. I hope the screen is visible. Can somebody please comment in the chat box if it's yes? Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. Guys, the screen what I'm sharing with you guys right now is basically the marks, content and division, what ICA has notified in terms of subject-wise weightage description, what kind of questions can come in the exam and what is the weightage given to every topic. If you see here, out of your 40 marks indirect taxes, my dear friends, 50 to 80%, that means close to about 20 to 32 marks come from these topics. Now, what are those topics where 20 to 32 marks keep coming? First, that is about application of GST law. GST law applies to what? Does GST law apply to Jammu and Kashmir? Answer is certainly yes. GST law applies to whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir. Correct, guys? Then the concept of supply, including composite and mixed supply. Of course, we're talking about section 7 and section 8. It is very, very important to understand that schedule 1, schedule 2, schedule 3 very properly. The reason being very clear that schedule 1 talks about the transactions which are regarded as supply, even though there is no consideration. Schedule 2 talks about the transactions which are neither supply of goods. Schedule 2 talks about what is supply of goods, what is supply of service. Schedule 3 talks about which are neither supply of goods nor supply of service. Generally in exam, one question keeps coming from schedule 1 or schedule 2 or schedule 3. That's a very common tendency what we have in the examination standpoint. The reason because they're very important, right? We are talking about those cases where we are discussing of transactions which are regarded as supply, even though consideration is not there. Such a crazy point. And schedule 3 talks about which are neither supply of goods nor supply of service. Even those areas are very, very important. Then other side, we have got concept of composite supply and mixed supply, where you basically try to understand the concept of section 8. And we all know very clearly that composite supply deals with what, my dear friends? Composite supply is that supply which are naturally bundled, and one of which is the principal supply. And composite supply is always taxable at the rate of principal supply. And a classic example for that composite supply is what, my dear friends? Accommodation with complimentary breakfast. Correct? Exactly. And we have discussed a lot of examples during our revision sessions. Then other one is mixed supply, which is always taxable at highest rate, but always keep in mind, my dear friends, to call it as a mixed supply, two or more supplies should be not naturally bundled and they are supplied for a single price. That word called single price is very, very important in case of mixed supply. By any chance, if it is not for a single price, then we don't call it as mixed supply, my dear friends. It is very important that all of them should be for a single price. Getting clarity, everybody? All of us? Excellent. Then, my dear friends, then post that we have got a topic called charge of tax including reverse charge. And of course, I need not tell you that point very clearly. That point is very clear that reverse charge mechanism is an important topic where question keeps coming in the exam almost every time, especially from notified RCM section 9.3. Some or other question keeps coming for sure, my dear friends, which is definite. Whether it could be GTA or it could be transport agent or it could be a case of your recovery agent, insurance agent, sponsorship service, any kind of question will definitely come in the exam. Make sense, right? Exactly. Then renting of motor vehicle, that question also can come in the exam. After that, my dear friends, we have got a topic called exemption from tax, which I keep saying to the students very, very clearly. Don't try to mug up these exemptions. Just try to understand what exemption is talking about. Don't try to mug up. At CA level, never take that effort as to remember all the exemption. Just understand them as to what that exemption is talking about. So that what happens very clearly, you in the exam, basically what happens is they'll give you 4 to 5 points and ask you whether it is exempt or taxable. So the only activity what you're supposed to do is basically trying to find out whether it is exempt or taxable. That's it. They won't even ask you any more question. Don't expect that they'll give a question in the exam for 10 marks saying write 10 exemptions, we'll give you 10 marks. That's never how they ask question in the exam. Clear? Next is, of course, the composition levy. Very, very important topic. Every time question keeps coming in the exam, for sure, my dear friends, from composition levy. Either they might ask section 10.1 or they might ask 10.2a. But keep in mind very clearly that 10.1 applies only to 3 categories of persons: manufacturers, trader, restaurant and catering service provider. If somebody is not fitting that any of the 3 category, then they can't take composition scheme under section 10.1. But they can go for composition scheme under section 10.2a. That is the story of 50 lakhs. But the tax rate there is 3% plus 3%. That point is to be very, very clearly kept in mind while solving the question. Make sense? Then, basic concepts of time of supply and value of supply. Time of supply is extremely important, and you have got only 2 sections in your syllabus, section 12 and section 13. 12 deals with time of supply for goods, 13 deals with time of supply for services. And understand the story of 31st day, 61st day very clearly. Don't get confused. The story of 31st day is in goods, 61st day is in services. And in goods for RCM, we will see date of receipt of goods, date of payment, 31st day from date of invoice, whichever is earlier. And for services, what do we see? Date of payment or 61st day from date of invoice, whichever is earlier. These points understand very clearly so that you will not do any sort of mistake in the exam. And of course, please do keep in mind, in case of goods, there is no requirement to pay GST on advances. However, my dear friends, in case of services, we are required to pay GST on advances. We know that point very clearly, because in case of goods, what is the answer, my dear friends? Come on, for goods, what is the answer? For goods, the answer is very clear that date of invoice is the time of supply. And when I say date of invoice, it is actual date of invoice or last date when invoice is ought to have been issued under section 31. And that story is given in tax invoice topic, which clearly says, my dear friends, that when invoices ought to have been issued, if there is a movement of goods on or before a date of removal, no movement of goods on or before a date of delivery or make available. And for continuous supply of goods, when statement is issued or payment is received, whichever is earlier. So just get that clarity very clearly on time of supply. One question will come in exam for 4 marks, which you can happily answer. But don't just get confused with the data. That's very important. Other part is what? Value of supply. This part, value of supply, at your level, it's pretty simple. Because what you have is only inclusions and exclusions. Inclusions 15. Exclusions 15.3. Include excess fee charged by supplier from recipient. Supplier's obligation in relation to supply. Supplier's obligation in relation to supply met by the recipient. Number 3, or incidental expenses or anything charged by supplier from recipient. Number 4, what is number 4, my dear friends? Interest, late fee, penalty charged by supplier from recipient. Finally, last one, any subsidy linked to the price except subsidy from central government or state government. Exclusions, only 2 points we have got. Discount recorded in the invoice, discount given after supply is made based on agreement existing at the time of supply, and proportionate credit is reversed by the recipient. That's it. Not a big task at all. Good. Sure. Before I proceed, somebody asked me some doubt. Sir, how to remember all the due dates? If you're asking about the due date for time of supply, that you have to anyways remember, my dear friend, because you should know time of supply will come when, because time of supply is an important topic, because time of supply will have an effect on due date for payment of tax. If time of supply is 10th October, the due date for payment of tax is 20th of November. So if time of supply will change, due date for payment of tax will change. So it is very important that you should know the time of supply properly. And due date for payment of tax is what? 20th of next month. That is standard, because we pay the tax when we file GSTR 3B. When we file GSTR 1, we do not pay the tax at all, because GSTR 1 is only a statement of outward supply. GSTR 3B is a monthly return. I hope the point makes sense, my dear friend. If you are clear, you can reply as clear. Or if you still have some doubt, you can ask. Feel free to message in the chat box, guys. Any doubt you have got, feel free to message. And at the end, I'll allow you to unmute also. You can unmute and ask. No problem. Yes, Ramesh, are you clear with your doubt? And I hope your question is answered. Yes, fantastic. Next question. Yeah, next topic, my dear friends. Input tax credit, no doubt about it. Minimum to minimum 8 to 10 marks will come from this topic of input tax credit. One of the most crucial and important topic, input tax credit. For a simple fact and reason that we have got sections like 16, 17, 18, 19. Correct? 16 deals with what? Conditions to claim input tax credit. 4 important conditions. Receiver must have tax paying document. Receiver must receive goods, services, or both. Supplier must pay tax to government. Recipient must file return. All the conditions satisfied, claim the credit. And one latest important amendment, once upon a time we learned that you can claim credit maximum 105% of credit reflecting in GSTR 2B. But that point is amended now. How much you can take credit is only how much is reflecting in 2B. You can't claim credit more than what is reflecting in 2B. How much is there in 2B, that much you can claim. If something is not there in 2B, claim credit in next month. As simple as that. And all these amendments, my dear friends, already we updated all these amendments to the existing videos. And in YouTube, already we have released one amendments video on our YouTube channel. You can happily watch out that videos on Indigolearn YouTube channel. We have put the separate video for amendments. Don't worry. Clear? And of course, input tax credit, my dear friends, one more core important area you have to keep in mind is about the story of block credits. Because generally, one question keeps coming in the exam from block credit concepts, which is of extremely important, where you should know what are all the block credits we have got, about the story of motor vehicle, 13 passengers, then the story of aircraft and vessel, food and beverages, outdoor catering, beauty treatment, health services, cosmetic plastic surgery. Then remember the concept of works contract service for construction of immobile property, and construction word is defined in the law, where they clearly said that construction includes reconstruction, repairs, renovation to the extent of capitalization to the immobile property. So whatever is capitalized, that is only covered. Which is not capitalized, that is not covered in construction definition. So if it is not capitalized, it is not covered in construction. If it is not covered in construction, input tax credit is allowed. Such a small cute point, but very, very important. And moreover, input tax credit is not allowed even in case of goods lost, stolen, destroyed, disposed of, or written off by way of gift and free samples. That is also very, very important point. So like this, there are some interesting concepts in block credit which you should clearly make note of. And you just practice. You just write 1-2 times and keep practicing. And any doubts, our forum is anyways there for you to answer everyday query for you. And especially, let me tell you, I come on the forums every day and solve all your queries. No doubt about it. Because at Indigolearn team, we all are very, very active in terms of solving all your queries on the forum. Because we believe that is extremely important. Then, moving forward, computation of GST liability. In this, the only thing you are required to know is about how do we adjust your input tax credit, where you know very clearly that input IGST is to be first utilized for output IGST, then for CGST or SGST in any order, any manner. Then input CGST first for output CGST, then for output IGST. Input SGST first for output SGST, then for output IGST. But two important principles to be kept in mind when you are doing a set off. Number one, CGST, SGST credit is to be utilized only after IGST credit is fully exhausted. Principle number two, while paying output IGST, first input IGST is to be utilized, then input CGST to be utilized, only then input SGST to be utilized. And in principle number three, CGST credit cannot be used for SGST, SGST credit cannot be used for CGST. Keep these principles in mind. Any question related to set off of liability, you can answer. And 101%, one question will come in the exam in relation to set off of tax liability. Next, registration topic. Of course, my dear friends, something very, very important. No doubt about it. Because a paper will not come in the exam without registration topic. And what will happen in registration topic? Before I go to registration topic, there are a couple of queries. Let me answer that first. Somebody is asking me a question, my dear friends, that, sir, what is the benefit of a person who is voluntarily registering even though his annual turnover did not exceed threshold limit? So understand that even though he has not crossed 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 40 lakhs, he has still taken registration. What is the benefit he will get? Mr. Jeevan, let me tell you the answer. There is one section called section 18, subsection 1, clause B, which clearly says that any person who obtains voluntary registration can claim input tax credit on the stock. He can claim ITC on inputs held in stock, inputs contained in semi-finished or finished goods in stock. But he cannot claim credit on capital goods. But he can claim credit on inputs held in stock, inputs contained in semi-finished, and inputs contained in finished goods in stock. That is a benefit what you will get if you go for voluntary registration. And moreover, once you go for voluntary registration, you will be legally recognized. And moreover, when you are registered, only then you can claim input tax credit. Because ultimately, unregistered person can never ever claim input tax credit. I am sure your question is answered, my dear friend. Next, somebody asks, sir, how many attempts you took to clear CA? Do attempts matter? Sir, okay, first I'll tell my answer. I actually could, by God's grace and all the faculty support and everyone's support, I cleared everything in the first attempt. But if you ask me, do attempts matter? Not really, but it's always preferable that the more you quickly you qualify, the more better it is. So if you qualify the first attempt, that even more fantastic. But doesn't matter that if you have not passed first attempt, doesn't mean life is done. Even if you pass second attempt also, still life is there, long way to go. But as quickly you pass, as much better it is. Yeah. Done. Jeevan is saying thank you. Yes, Jeevan, thank you. Next topic, my dear friends, we have got a topic called registration. Registration topic, you guys know very clearly the story of 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 40 lakh, where one question keeps coming in the exam from that particular area of who is liable to be registered, who is not liable to be registered. But please, my dear friends, ensure to have a clarity of thought on section 24. That is the cases where registration is mandatory, even though turnover does not exceed threshold limit. Because generally one question keeps coming in the exam from that section 24. And how to calculate aggregate turnover, section 26. Aggregate turnover covers all taxable supplies, exempt supplies, interstate supplies, and exports on all India basis under same PAN. Focus these areas. Then, tax invoice, credit note, debit note. We know very clearly that credit note, debit note, both are given by supplier only. Credit note is given for the purpose of reducing the tax. Debit note is given for the purpose of increasing the tax. But whether it is credit note or it is debit note, both are given by supplier only. That clarity you please have first in your brain very clearly. Don't ever write in an exam, supplier gives one document, recipient gives another document. That is nonsense. Credit note or debit note are given by supplier only. Credit note is given for the purpose of reducing the tax. Debit note is given for the purpose of increasing the tax. That clarity, you please have it very clearly. Then, waybill, please have a clarity on the story of 50,000 and also the clarity on the story of what is the validity of waybill. That is about the story of 200 kilometers one day, additional 200 kilometers of part thereof, extra one day, and how do we calculate that one day? And in case of over-dimensional cargo or multi-model shipment involving at least one leg by ship, the story is not 200 kilometers, the story is 20 kilometers. Even that points have to be very, very clear, my dear friends. Then, moving forward to the next topic. Yeah, that is about the story of your returns, my dear friends. Generally, one question keeps coming where they ask you as to what is GSTR1, what is GSTR3B, or they might ask you a question on annual return, who is required to file, who is not required to file annual return, section 44. And they might ask one small question on late fees, section 47. Any of that question may come in the exam. Then, payment of tax, you should definitely have a clarity of thought on electronic credit ledger, electronic cash ledger. How do we utilize credit ledger? I just explained to you. And in relation to cash ledger, have a clarity of thought that if there is a balance in one head, major head or minor head, you can't use it for another major head or minor head. If you want to use like that, first you have to transfer balance from one head to another head by filing a form called GST PMT 09. You can file that form and transfer the balance from one head to another head. That facility is given in the law. Make sense, right? Excellent. Wonderful. So let me go ahead. How important to state sections in answer? Yeah, I'll answer all the questions first. Let me complete the areas to be focused. Then I will proceed to that. Clear? Yes, done. So payment of tax is one story. Then after that, what do we have? If you see here, what is the other area then? 0 to 5%. So question may come, question may not come. Is a concept of indirect tax. Like what are the 5 petroleum products kept outside GST? GST is a tax on supply of all goods or services or both, except alcohol, liquor for human consumption. An introduction like constitutional aspects, like your Article 269A, 279A, GST Council. These are the areas where question may come in the exam, question may not come in the exam. So this is how you have to prioritize your preparation, and this is how you have to focus on your understanding the provisions and concepts. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on making you understand exactly what are the focus areas in every important topic, which I want to discuss with you first before I proceed to talk about what is that you have to focus upon in terms of your preparation. Clear? Exactly. Now let me move forward to some important discussion, my dear friends. That is, first, let me tell you very clearly as to how you have to manage your time when it comes to exam. Since your paper 4, that is taxation, comes for 100 marks in the exam, 60 marks weightage is given for your income tax and 40 marks weightage is given for your GST. Very clearly, they will give you separate paper for section A and section B. So you have to very, very clearly allocate your time and manage your time. Your 3 hours of your time, you allocate very clearly 40% of your time for GST, 60% of your time for your income tax. That time management is very important, and especially that 15 minutes before when they give you paper, that time is extremely powerful, my dear friends, because that is a time where you make a strategy and plan how you approach the balance part of your time and how you are going to answer your questions. Because my dear friends, let me give a small example. Generally what happens is when I go to any marriage or any function to attend, before I start my food, first I'll actually go through the entire buffet to actually make a plan as to what should I eat first, then what should I eat, how do I fill my stomach. When we are so concerned and focused about your food, why not about your exam? So that 15 minutes of your time is very, very important as to you prioritize which questions you will answer first, which question you will answer next. Then, when it comes to section numbers, my dear friends, it's not mandatory to write section number in CA inter-level. Final level, it is anyways mandatory, but inter-level also, my suggestion to you very clearly is that since we have got not too much of sections, I always advise preferably write always every answer with section number. If you look at any RTP or MTP, everywhere section numbers are written, and section number actually gives you tremendous level of confidence. So that's why I suggest that learn section number and write section number. And with respect to practical questions coming in the exam, every time you divide your answer into 3 parts. Part number 1, what is a provision? Part 2, interpretation. Part 3, conclusion. But don't write part 1, part 2, part 3. Write in 3 paragraphs. Provision, interpretation, conclusion. But don't write as part 1, part 2, part 3. That is important. And whenever you're reading any question, just understand what they're trying to ask you. Whether they're asking you time of supply, or they're talking about value of supply, or they're expecting you to calculate tax liability. Sometimes what happens is they'll tell you set off the tax liability, input to be set off with outputs, but they will tell you set off in such a manner that SGST liability is minimum. So what you have to do, IGST credit, use it happily towards CGST. That's very important. Clear? And when I come to preparation strategy as to what you have to study before your exam, I clearly told you what are all the focus important areas. That you do very clearly. And if you've been Indigolearn student, whatever material we have given, just go through that. Any other student outside Indigolearn also, no problem. You can happily study your material, what you have got from your concerned respective faculty. Subject to the point that they cover all the amendments. And we at Indigolearn already updated our material, notes, everything, and also the videos. And we have put up on our YouTube channel separate amendments video, which you can watch out. Any doubt you have got, comment in that video. I will only personally reply. Or you can put up on forums, which will reply for sure. Done. Then, let me take up the questions what we have got. Somebody is asking, sir, if I want to become a GST expert in future, what should I do while reading GST portion? Like, should I master every provision and due date? See, due date, don't just try to mug up the due date because they keeps on changing. Study only from examination point of view. Maybe you can master the provisions and sections more when you come to final, because that is where you become more of a GST expert. Now you can restrict yourself to the syllabus what you have got. That area you become perfect. In that there should not be any question of compromise. Any area suddenly I tell you, come on my dear friend, what is 15(2)(b)? You should be able to tell. Supplier's obligation in relation to supply met by recipient. That level of perfection is required. Next, somebody is asking a doubt. I have a doubt in topic exemption from Gst Construction Service. Single residential unit is exempt. What if only one extra unit is built along with residential? Will that be considered as a complex? Generally, we say that residential complex means apartment. Single residential is something like independent house. Exemption is only for an independent house. If an extra unit is constructed, it's as good as it's no more a single unit. Exemption is only for a single unit. Then, question from Sivapriya. What is that? Sir, should we attempt MCQs first or in the end? Your choice, my dear friend. Choice is all yours. Whichever you feel like you're doing it, you do it. And MCQ is very scoring area. As of now, you don't have negative marking also in MCQ. You can happily answer the MCQ. Generally, they keep asking one point about tax liability, 1 point about time of supply, 1 point from value of supply. Like that, 3-4 chapters, they'll ask 3-4 questions. And they are very scoring, my dear friend, let me tell you. You should not miss out at all. And as I told you, the starting of the session itself, that is a right title what we have put. How to score 90 plus in GST, because it's very much possible. And once you secure a score like about 30-35 marks in GST, my dear friend, it becomes very easy for you to get exemption in taxation. And getting an exemption in subject like taxation is very, very important, because I always keep saying that in every group, whether it's group 1 or group 2 you are writing, it's important that 2-3 subjects you capitalize and score exemption there, so that it becomes easy for you when you write your exam and aiming for your result and waiting for your result. So my suggestion is that tax should be one such paper where we are targeting exemption, because it's very much possible and very much gettable. One of the most practical paper. With due respect to all subject, tax is one such thing which you can't avoid. You might tell, I want to avoid tax, but tax cannot avoid you. The simple reason, because we are chartered accountant students, man. How can we say that we don't know tax? That's very important. Next. Sir, what is the average time taken to write GST portion exam out of 3 hours? Generally, student completes GST part in just about 1 hour. But strictly speaking, you talk about 180 minutes, split for about 40%. So you still have about 1 hour 20 minutes with you. But suggestion always what we give is all about you can happily complete that in 1 hour. That's very much possible. How to prepare for MCQ? Is there any strategy, sir? Already we covered case study based MCQ in our portal that you can watch out, and you can happily cover all types of MCQs there. And when you have a clarity of thought on the concept, my dear friends, any MCQ you can answer. That is for sure. There is no doubt about it. Every MCQ can be answered if you have clarity of thought on the concept. Yeah. That is from my side. Only preparing MCQ booklet is enough, sir. See, Ramesh, don't just try to say that MCQ booklet I'll study, it's done. See, MCQ booklet is only for you to practice. It's not that MCQ booklet you just remember and the story is over. Without clarity of thought on the concept, if you just do that, it's of no use. But by doing that MCQ booklet, if you have got clarity of thought on the concept, then done. We are good to go. That's important. So that is from my side, my dear friends. Anyone has got any doubt, you can feel free to do in the chat box, or any point you want to talk, you can unmute yourself and talk also. And before exam day, my dear friends, it is important that you have to study. And by any chance, if you are weak in some topic or some topic you left it completely, now don't try to do any R&D. Whatever topic you left, just leave it aside. Whichever topics you have perfectly done it, just focus on it. That's very important. But if you say that half the topics are not done, sir, that won't work. You have to cover it up for sure. And I already told you what are the focus important areas in every chapter that you have to study before the exam. And I'm sure while your preparation, you would have prepared some running notes or you have referred some faculty material, use it. And you have to see the amendments before the exam day. Because if you look at your RTP of November 22, my dear friends, let me tell you, I forgot that. RTP November 22 video also we recorded. That is also there on our Indigolearn YouTube channel. You can watch out even that also for your practice. And you should watch, because generally from RTP, one question keeps coming in the exam. And amendments material, you have to see, my dear friends. You have to watch the amendments video, because from amendments, one question generally keeps coming in the exam. Make sense, right? Speak out. Exactly. Then somebody is asking, sir, how to access MCQ booklet? That's there in ICA material. If you're an Indigolearn student, it's already there in our platform. And somebody is asking, sir, should I attempt theory first or practical first? That's a pure personal choice, my dear friend. You can answer anything. But if you ask me what I should write first, I would suggest practical first. Solve all the questions first. Then apply your brain on writing your theory questions. Then. So do you have any suggestion on which descriptive portion has to be written first, income tax or GST? Anything is okay, man. If you feel that you are more comfortable with income tax, start with income tax. If you feel GST you are a master, then start with GST. But my humble suggestion is that start with that area which you are more perfect with, because beginning should be perfect. That's very, very important. Next, any more queries? You can ask. Session is all yours. If somebody wants to talk, you can unmute and talk, my dear friends. Next, someone's message here. We are so lucky to have you as a GST faculty who taught topics in simple way, who calls us my dear friends. Thank you, my dear friends. Thank you. Pleasure. Happy to hear that. I'm more than happy. Yeah. Next question, somebody is asking, is it possible to revise GST and income tax in 3 or 4 days? If I have revised it once, and how, sir? Yes, my dear friend, you can definitely do it. And I'm sure you would have already during preparation and revision, you would have prepared your summary notes, or you would have written somewhere on a piece of paper, this topic, this part, this topic, this part, you would have already written, right? So that areas you revise. And it's very much possible to revise in 1.5 days. Not that it's not possible. You can definitely do it. Clear? Done. How many marks come from percentage of practical questions come? More or less almost about 80% practical questions come, 20% theory questions come. I'll wait for another 5 minutes. Any question anyone has got, you can ask me. Yes. Next question from Nilima. Sir, I'm preparing for May 23 exam. I'm working professional. Can you guide me for preparation? Nilima, I think we can take that session separately. We'll conduct a separate session for May 23 exam. At that time, I'll answer your query, because this is more oriented towards November 22 exams. Yeah. Next message from Ayushi. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ayushi. Thank you. Sir, how do you manage work time and also play cricket? I have to manage, my dear friends. See, everyone, you and me, everyone of us have got only 24 hours that have to be managed. You have to balance it. If you ask me how, then you have to fix your timelines. If something is being missed out, you have to ensure you cover it up. Same thing happens with me. Sometimes I fix some timeline that I should do something in this timeline. I tend to miss out sometimes because some commitment would have come, something would have happened. But I ensure that I'll gear up once again. Sure, maybe in 2-3 days I'll complete that timelines and just finish it off. So you have to manage your time. Personal life, professional life, both. Yeah, of course, I do give time to my wife also. No doubt about it. Yeah. Anything else? If any more queries, we'll answer. If nothing, then I'll close it. So how frequently do questions come from e-invoicing topic? A one small question can come in exam for 2 marks. And since last 3-4 attempts, they're asking one question for 2 marks because practically e-invoicing became very significant and very important. And if an invoice does not contain invoice reference number, invoice is not a valid invoice. If it is not a valid invoice, receiver can't take input tax credit. That's the reason why government is focusing more on e-invoicing so that they eliminate the fake invoicing concepts. That is why Institute also is concerned about giving a question for 2 marks or 4 marks from e-invoicing. Anything else, guys? Yeah, I'm getting all thank you messages. I think we are done then. Thank you so much, my dear friends. Thank you. Somebody is asking, is there a latest important chapter that can be skipped? Oh, sorry, least important chapter that can be skipped. Nothing, man. I mean, you're asking a wrong person because I would always say that every chapter you have to study. I will not talk anything about some topic to be skipped. Everything has to be studied. There is no question of selective preparation. So there is no way that you get answer from me for that question. Sorry for that. According to me, everything you have to study. No selective preparation at all. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. All the very best. Wish you all success. Stay connected. And the last but not the least, any doubts, feel free to get back on the forum, YouTube, WhatsApp. So many options are there. Everywhere you can reach us out. And of course, I'm there on Facebook also, Instagram also. You can find me there also. But preferably for doubts, don't message me on Facebook or Instagram. Message me on Indigolearn platform with proper query. We'll answer on the forum. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.